WeaKnees is the TiVo Superstore. We sell replacement power supplies for all models of TiVo. This video shows you how to install a power supply in a Series 3 TiVo. These power supplies are available on our website. For this installation, you'll need two tools, a Torx T8 and a Torx T10 screwdriver. Both are available for purchase on our website. This video shows you how to change a power supply on a TiVo Series 3. This is the front of the unit. This is a TiVo Series 3 model TCD648250B. If you're unsure whether you have it, you can look at the front of the model, and it's the only unit that looks like that on the front. Also, your model number is here on the back where the plug goes in. There it is, TCD648250B. All right, unplug the unit. Make sure it's been resting for about 5 minutes so that everything discharges inside. And then you're going to start by removing the 6 Torx T10 screws. They're the black screws in the black border that holds the top onto the back of the unit. There's one more screw that needs to come out of the back. That is a Torx T8 screw. It's really small, right there above where the power cord goes in to power the unit up. So pull that out with your Torx T8 screwdriver. Then you're ready to pop the lid off the unit. To do that, you basically want to hold the unit in place, maybe with your thumbs on the back or on the side, and slide the lid backward just about a ½ inch. And once you get it about ½ inch back, it should lift straight off. All right. Inside the unit, you'll see your hard drive, you'll see your motherboard, and you'll see your power supply. Before we go further, let's look at this power supply and we'll get an idea of why we're replacing it. So these cylinders over here are called capacitors, and this is a capacitor that looks just fine. It's got a flat top to it. But this capacitor over here, for example, has a dome top, as do 4 of these 5 capacitors over here. The tops are bursting open, they're a little bit domed, and you see this 5th one back here is actually still good and flat. Once capacitors are doming and bursting like that, you're going to have problems with the unit. The unit may not power up at all, so no lights on the front. It may reboot at strange intervals, or it may reboot when you put a cable card in. So anytime you see bursting capacitors like that, you're apt to have problems with your unit. And here's our replacement power supply over here. As you can see, all the capacitors are looking perfect on here, all nice and flat. They do have that scoring on the top piece of metal there. That's normal and to be expected. It's just the doming that you had over here. That is the problem. All right, and just to verify, this replacement power supply that you're going to install in this unit must be SPWR-00008. So any power supply that starts with that will work, but a different model number there will not work properly in this unit. So make sure you have the right one. All right, let's disconnect this power supply and swap it out. So you first are going to disconnect some cables inside the unit. Let's pull off this big motherboard connector. Just put your thumb on that little latch, work it up. Big motherboard connector's off. Then the SATA and power cable goes to the hard drive. Slide that straight out. And the other piece of that goes to the motherboard, small SATA connector, and then undo that little harness that holds the cable in place. Okay, cables are free. Now you're going to take out 6 Torx T10 screws that are the silver screws holding the power supply in place. Once those screws are out, you should be able to just lift that power supply straight out of the unit. A good place to hold it is by that heatsink there, the black metal part. Could be silver in some cases. That's the heatsink. It's a nice way to pick these units up. All right, put that aside. We'll take our power supply with the good capacitors, put that back in. So put it down so that you line up those holes, and you'll see your hole on the bottom case through those holes. And then the first thing we like to do is to put that long T8 screw back in the back of the unit. It'll hold it in place nicely so that you keep everything else lined up internally. Okay, that'll keep it from shifting around. Then you're going to put those 6 silver Torx T10 screws back in. Then we'll reconnect those cables. We'll start with that again, that big motherboard connector. Snap it down, you'll hear a click when that little toggle snaps into place. Then you got the SATA cable. You can take the data end. It'll only go one way into the motherboard, only one place it can go. Then the other part goes into the hard drive, and then don't forget to leash it back with that little harness there. Before you put the lid on, go ahead and look at the white ribbon cable that's connected here just in front of that big data cable you plugged in from the power supply. This white ribbon cable goes to the front of the unit. It's what powers the display. Just make sure that it's fully down and you don't see any of the silver connectors. You may have lifted it up inadvertently when you were taking the power supply out. If you see any silver connectors at the end of that white ribbon cable, just gently slide it back down. It should seat pretty easily right back there in that black connector. All right. Now, putting the lid back on this unit's pretty simple, but there is one part to be a little careful of. Basically, the OTA antenna, these 2 cables over here, do dangle on the side of the unit a bit, so you want to try to tuck those in a little bit when you're getting the lid on, just to make sure that they sit beside the hard drive and don't get caught on any parts of the lid. All right, so get the lid nicely over there. Try to keep it pretty square, coming back about 1/2 an inch from the front. And once you get it in place, slide it forward. Should be pretty straightforward. And then the back should line up nicely. You should be able to see right through the black metal into the silver metal, which means your holes are all lined up. And then you can go ahead and screw back those 6 Torx T10 screws. These are the black ones. Frankly, the black ones and the silver ones that you used on the power supply, they're the same screw. So if you get them switched, it really doesn't matter. It's just a cosmetic issue. And that's it. Your lid's back on, screws are back in, your TiVo has its replacement power supply installed. Go ahead and power it back up.